is where we are once again talking about the Wheel of Time. Yes, we are precious. We are in part 2 of the Shadow Rising, and once again, we have the Nordporeal life form with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a fun one because the latest episode came out and it covered the Roydion stuff, so the glass columns and everything. So yeah, these two chapters, me and Dane covered an entire stream, like 2 to 3 hour stream, just talking about this and the implications going forward with the series. So like this was one of the few times reading this book that I wanted more. So when they cut off in chapter 26, I was like, dang it.
Yeah, you jerks. Yeah. And then it's quite a while before we get back to them too. And I'm like, really? Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What you doing this to me? Well, and we have in the chat, we have you. Hello. And we have Staplebow. Hey, all. Hello. And we have a Dega Outlaw. Welcome. And welcome all of those that will be watching on the replay. And maybe people that have just seen it in the TV show. And, this would be a time to comment. Though, note that we only have spoilers up to the Shadow Rising, nothing past that, because we haven't read them. We are first-time readers. I'm currently reading book 5, but I don't know what happens afterwards. So there we
How
are.
far are you in book 5?
Not too far. I'm only like 200 pages in.
Oh, okay. I am about halfway through book 7, so I'm going to try and get through book 7 within the next few weeks. So next week is going to be my first book club for book 7. So
fun.
So yeah.
Well,
so it's going to be a math. It's a math centric book so far.
Oh, very nice. I like that. That's a great character. I just love them, though. You really tell that they are true friends and they're funny when they're around each other. And I do like when they're really just so puzzled by the women. There was a part where Rand said, what was it? It was Elaine. It was Egwene that was talking with him about the letters Elaine sent him. And he was thinking, what? They all talk to each other about this? And I'm like, dude, of course we do. What do you think we do when we're all in the restroom together?
So and he's probably thinking, man, Perrin know how to talk to, probably understand this better than I do. And then they all say the same thing about each other. So yeah, the running joke of the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, that none of them know what to do with these women. But in any case, this is not a woman chapter. This is a Rand going into the glass columns. I don't know if you want to go ahead and introduce them. And so it's the road to the spear.
Yeah. So he was, he's supposed to go into. So Rand's supposed to, he ultimately, obtained the sword Kalendor, and in the stone that was impregnable, basically. And he fulfilled that, and when he fulfills that, he fulfills going into Roydion, and then basically becoming he who comes with the dawn, which is a different prophecy than the dragon reborn. But that's what the Aiel, the children of the dragon, believe. So so Roydion's a city that was built by Aes Sedai, and it's about basically maintaining the memory of the Aiel, because the Aiel, that what we learn, and this is something, the Aiel basically stem from a pact that they made with the Aes Sedai to protect the ter'angreal and the sa'angreal that they need to basically fight the Dark One in the future. One of the Aes Sedai has a foretelling, and they foretell that there's going to be someone's going to come in and is going to lead them in a final standoff or a final battle, so to speak. So that's the point of these glass columns. And we actually see in the first story here when Rand goes into the glass columns. So the glass columns is basically a forest around this giant tree called Avendasora, which was planted in the middle of Roydion. and the glass columns are basically only people that can go into Roydion are clan chiefs, and going into the city with weapons is forbidden. So, and it's covered by a fog, and I forget how the fog is lifted. I don't know if it's because of the wise ones that lift because they have to get permission from the wise ones. Any man that wants to go into Roydion, he has to get permission from from the wise ones. I don't know if it's the wise ones themselves that lift the fog or lift the shield. It's like a shield, because if you look later in this book, someone is trying to get. I think it was a Nynaeve, or someone is witnessing. Someone's trying to get into Roydion, and they're like, this person's too dangerous. If they see you, they'll kill you. So,
Yeah.
and of course we learned that that's, Asmodean. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I forget how the shield is lifted. I forget if it's because of the if it's too bad Dane's not here, he'd be able to answer that question.
Yeah. I'm a first time reader, so it's still a fog. A lot of it is still a fog because it's so much to take in. And sometimes when people go in, though, they don't come out. It's kind of like the test for the accepted, that sometimes you don't make it. So it's not anything that anyone's going to come in too lightly. And it's something that is a test before you can become a wise one, that you have to go through it in, or a clan chief, or what, wise women too, right? They have to go in there. I've seen.
No, it's only I think it's only the clan chiefs that have to go in.
Okay.
They learn the Aiel history, those that can handle it, and
Mm-hmm.
they get like one arm that's coiled with the golden dragon tattoo, and the one that comes out with two is going to be the leader, the Kara Karn, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what, Rand ultimately, he ultimately emerges on the other side of that forest within that, small diameter right by the Avendasora tree. And that's of course where he sees Matt hanging and all that. But yeah, he comes out with,
Yeah.
two golden dragons that basically signifies him as the Kara Karn.
Yeah. He's fulfilling prophecies left and right in this book, and I thought it was very epic, to be honest, when he came out with both those marks. Um, and as he's going through, he's actually living these memories. The way they describe it here, he goes into the past, and it says he rode behind a set of eyes, feeling but not controlling a body. The owner of those eyes crouched easily among boulders, etc. So he's seeing it through people's eyes, but he's not exactly body shifting, and he's going into the past, and slowly but surely he is revealing, for I guess lack of a better word, the original sin of the Aiel, because they used to follow the way of the leaf until they killed.
Yes. And so he's basically he sees through the eyes of Mandane. That's Mandane. That's the first character, or that's the first ancestor. So these are all his ancestors that he um, that he's seeing through the eyes of. So Mandane is the guy that he's is once again this, like there's separateness at first, but then the separateness fades, and then he just is
Mm-hmm.
he kind of, I don't know if it seems like here it says he loses control and then he just becomes this his ancestor Mandine. So, and this was actually in the show. So what the show did first was not show that, now this was in the show, but the first vision that Rand had was not this. They decided to add in Janduin. So Janduin was his Aiel father.
Hmm.
And they showed Janduin fighting a little skirmish off of Dragonmount. And then he finds, his wife, Shail, dead. I don't know. I don't think, I think at this point you don't know who Shail is yet, right? Who his mother is?
Oh yeah, we know what her name is. Yeah, we know what her name is. We don't know all the.
But you don't know who she is. Like, we know her name that the Aiel gave her, but we don't know, you don't know her identity, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. No,
Do,
we only
do
know,
you have
yes, what the ideal have
do you
told.
have any idea who his mother is?
Oh, gee whiz! Now I don't have a clue. I feel like I should know. I feel like I'm taking a history test when I'm doing this, because there's so much information. It never occurred to me that there was more to the story. So, is there
Okay.
some sort of prophecy I'm missing?
I mean, it kind of there's little drops of there's a little there's a little drops of information from the first book that there's points where someone says Rand looks like this particular character. So so he's not
Oh.
fully I'll say this, he's not fully IEL. So but I don't want to spoil it. That's something that's going to happen, and I already learned it in the book. I learned in
Mhm.
the book already, so probably before book 7 you'll find out. uh he'll find out basically, and it's a really good
Okay.
chapter, by the way. So but he finds his wife, and she's dead, the baby's gone, and it just breaks Janduin's heart to the point, I believe this is all revealed in the following chapter later, the He Who Comes with the Dawn. That's another reason why I like that chapter. I think that chapter should have been part of this cluster. You know how Robert
Mhm.
Jordan like clusters the chapters by point of view, basically.
I agree. Yes. I think
N-
that he should, because I felt like needed some more, and it took a little too long to get back to the story of
yeah,
Rand.
so after the dedicated, then it skips to Perrin. It goes back to Perrin, and it's Perrin for the next several. It's Perrin for like the next how many chapters? The next 7 chapters, actually, not until chapter 34 that we get He Who Comes with the Dawn. And I'll be honest, He Who Comes with the Dawn, chapter 34 of Shadow Rising, I couldn't. It was a page turner. Like, and I
Yes.
wish every chapter in this book was a page turner. That's the reason why that's the reason why I ranked this lower than the first 3, because the first 3 were all page turners from start to finish. This book did not quite have that same effect. And the later books, I I had to readjust my my expectations.
Hmm.
So that's why in book 7 is partially rough, but the last few chapters I actually managed to get through this weekend. So it's getting better. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so but yeah, so Janduin basically finds his wife dead, and as much as I don't, it was not a bad scene. I think it was unnecessary. And like, who's gonna?
Mm.
I mean, this is like only 30, 20 years earlier. They're during the IEL War. So
There'd be no
like,
point for them to see that in this particular situation.
yeah, and it wouldn't make sense because the glass columns were made, years before. So like this first story here with Mandane was them basically starting this whole thing where the clan chiefs have to go in and experience what the true IEL, the true history of the IEL were, because they forgot their history. They don't know
Mhm.
why they can't carry swords. They don't know why they veil themselves when they kill, or why the where the where the maidens of the spear come from,
Ah,
or why they're even in the threefold land in the first place.
yeah. No,
So,
good point.
and this gives us all context. And Dane, when I had my book club with him, Dane pointed all this out to me. I was like, wow, this is brilliant. And I'm reading it, knowing this now. And I'm like, yes, it's all there.
Yeah, I can't wait till once I'm done with all 14 books to go back and revisit that and being able to talk about things with people that know how it ends. So to help me with a lot of this, because oh my goodness, it's so much to take in. All hail Lord, the Lord Dragon. Yes, we do Aldan, and of course I said hi to Grifter, or metaphorically waved a petal in his direction. The second character that he becomes is Roderick, and they talk about their Jedi eel. We guard the Jin. It is they who travel with Aes Sedai. So,
Yeah, so the Jedi eel they consider themselves a true eel. They do not carry weapons. And as we learn further down the line, we learn why that is. But here, like, we find out that basically, you know, we find out that this is basically where they first, I think, enter the threefold land and everything.
okay. Yeah. And then the next time he becomes Jordam, I suppose. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
And they slowly learn about, what happened, where they took Morin, they took his daughter, and let's see.
So yeah, so this third one, this third one was basically how the maidens of the spirit come into being.
Mhm.
because this mother lost her daughter. So one thing that's been going on, and this is so here's one thing that the first story the first let's go back to the first story briefly.
Mhm.
um the first story, the reason why they have these columns, the reason why the Aes Sedai are there, and they're basically putting this whole thing together, is because the Gen Aiel, the true Aiel, are dwindling. Why are they dwindling? Well, because of the fact that they are, they're basically pacifists in a very aggressive environment where they don't fight to protect each other, they don't defend each other at all.
Mhm.
I mean, as we go forward, I mean, I would like to ask you your opinion on especially the fourth story. But because of the fact that they don't defend themselves or defend each other, they're basically doomed to die off, and even they knew that, and that's why they put this. That's why they put this history up so that the IEO would know and not forget. But
Mhm.
here's the thing: they can never talk. The whatever is learned in Roydian stays in Roydian or Ruidian or however people pronounce it. That's why nobody knows. That's why the IEL don't know. So what Rand does at the end of this book is very, very. And that was actually a really good chapter too, where they're in
Mhm.
Alcair Dal, and he basically, it's almost
Yeah.
like it was almost like a political debate in a
Yeah.
way.
You can't
Um,
handle the truth.
exactly. But yeah, they learn the leaders, the clan chiefs learn the truth about the history, and they kind of lead their people with that knowledge and all that.
Mhm.
So
And it splits
but
them up.
splits them up, and yeah, and they all get the thing is they're threatened if they don't do this. They're threatened that their seps and clans, or their seps and clans will vanish or something if they don't learn, the truth and all that.
Mhm.
So I'm sure there's more context to it, but yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that's basically the first. That's why things happen in the first story.
Yeah. And then after Roderick, we get Lewin, and um, let's see.
Yeah, so Lewin is the best story in my opinion. I know people might not agree with this, and this Lewin story was in the show.
Oh, yeah. So what goes on with here is that's where they that's where the like the original sin happens, right? Where they actually kill.
Yes, because once again, I mean, people like in the third story, and we learn this. People are being abducted left and right. Every time they trade with somebody, they end up coming back, taking their stuff, taking their shit, and stealing their girls to be shipped off. And it just horrifies me what the implication is. Like, are they sold off into sex slavery? What's going on? Are
Oh,
that
for
are they
sure.
for are they forced to be wives to people? Like, it's messed up. And imagine being someone in this story, especially when especially the character Aiden, who is
Mhm.
who is the grandfather of Lewin, and just lose you consistently. It's like the Oregon Trail in a way. It's
Mhm.
like people are dying left and right, either from channeling sickness. Some kids are showing signs of channeling, and especially the men, and they have to be sent away to die.
Mhm.
Basically, it's like a lot of the stuff that happens is messed up in here.
Yeah.
And then people
Well,
and women are abducted, and kids are killed or die. The kids die prematurely, before they become adults.
yeah. Well, and to speak to your point about what happened to the women, Megron, one of the women that they rescued, she said, "The bad men hurt us." Then Lewin came and killed them. So we know what that means. The bad men hurt us, and
Hmm.
it's when you got a bunch
Yes.
of
Well, I mean, they were frozen, so when they were being rescued, Lewin was begging them to run, while the guy was like, I'm gonna cut you like a pig. I'm gonna carve you like a pig, boy.
yes,
And
exactly.
and and then
Still
and
like
then
a pig.
and then squeal like a pig. I was like, okay, I'm sure Robert Jordan saw Deliverance at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, and then they fight, and then it becomes just a struggle to survive, and there's no thought that goes into it. It's just they're just trying to stay alive, and one of them dies. So there were two girls that got abducted. One was Lewin's sister, and one was what was Charlin, his friend Charlin's sister, and Charlin gets killed.
Yes.
Charlin gets a blade. He gets run through with a blade or a sword or something like that.
Yes. Into his belly.
And they had to carry him back, and they're like, "What happened? What's going on?" And
Yeah.
and before they could lie about it, Magrin tells them the truth.
Yeah.
So
They killed him.
she snaps out of it just to rat them out, basically.
Hey, didn't she know that snitches get stitches?
Yeah. So like he was begging them to run. They couldn't run because they were in a state of shock. They were like, they were completely backed into their minds because of all the trauma they were experiencing, which is of course,
Mhm. Yeah. And then after she blurts it out, and he's like, what the Alicia guy says, we had to. They tried to kill us and they killed Charlin. Aiden stepped back. You killed men. What of the covenant? We harmed no one. No one. There is no reason good enough to justify killing another human being. None. And they're like, but they
They
took
took
Magrin,
Magrin, great father. They took Magrin and Colleen and hurt them. There
hurt
is no
them.
reason. We must accept what comes. Our suffering are sent to test our faithfulness. We accept and endure. We do not murder. You have not strayed from the way. You abandoned it. You are to shine no longer. You are corrupt, and I will not have the Aiel corrupted by you. Leave us, strangers, killers. You are not welcome in the wagons of the Aiel.
Yep.
And
Banished.
then I remember Yosha, the actor that plays Rand in the show. They did this part. And they're like, mother, and I actually shed a tear during that moment
Oh.
right there. He's like, mother, please, and then she says, the actress in the show says the exact line right here.
Yeah.
So
Who are you that addresses me so? Hide your face from me, stranger.
and,
I had a son once with a face like that. I do not wish to see it on a killer.
and you know what that establishes
The covering of the face, yeah.
when they
And that's
kill.
what they do when they killed.
Yeah. And this is
That's cool.
where, and I liked how this end. He's like, I am still Aiel. I'm still Aiel. And then he puts on the mask and all that. And so thereafter, they even though they were rejected by their people, by their people, they still love them. And
Mhm.
he still wants to protect them.
Yeah.
And what's funny is with the third story going backwards, one thing that the third story shows is that more and more people were leaving the Gen. So not only were they dying and letting other people die, but a lot of people were just leaving because people were being attacked, people were being abducted, and at the end of the third story, Lewin, as an old man with his grandson Jordan, does the same thing. The couple of this woman's child has been abducted. She's like, I'm going to rescue her. I don't give a shit about these people. They can take their Aes Sedai faithfulness and shove it. I want
Mhm.
my kid, and I'll take a spear. I'll learn how to use the spear. And they snap it in half, and that's what gives birth to. And then they're like, you can't wear a skirt. You're going to have to dress up like you know you have to dress up like the guys, and that's where the Farderais Mai, the Maidens of the Spirit, comes from.
Yeah. It's
And
really
so
cool.
so
Really
people
cool
were
back.
so the Aiel were getting bigger, and the Gen Aiel were dwindling because of shit like this.
Yep. Though there is a part of me, it's like, dude, it's not like they went around and went Hannibal Lecter for no reason. It was defense. It was war.
It, I mean, I kind of wonder how many people actually were like this. I mean, it's like you care more about the cause than about the individual, than the
Mhm.
people that I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, if I was a grandfather, I would forgive. I mean, they're in this world because of your actions. You
Yeah.
don't have a right to do that stuff to them. You have no. I mean, parents love, grandparents love, unconditional. So when parents do that and disown their kids, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. They're in this world. They are suffering. They are in this world because of you. Sorry. Get a little. It's like, yeah. It's
No, I
that.
get
At
you.
least that's how I see it.
Yeah. And I understand it reminds me of the Fiddler on the Roof, the whole tradition, that Reptavia, he gives in on two things, but the third one he just couldn't, where his daughter married a Orthodox and basically left their community, and
Hmm.
he shunned her. And it was like everything will fall apart. Like, where does it stop? Where does it stop? That there is a time that you have to. I'm not saying it's right necessarily, but it just reminded me of a very similar moment. It's like,
Fiddler on
you're
the Roof. I have to watch that again.
oh yeah, it's good. Very, very sad, but the same idea that the idea is that once we get rid of these traditions, at least where Tevye was coming from, it's like then we lose who we are. And of course, everyone else says like, but the world's changing, blah blah blah, and there's lots of gray areas in it. But um, yeah, it's good stuff. So in any case,
I mean, the
uh,
ideal would have never came forth had there been some, attempted understanding, because I
correct.
mean, like you said, they didn't do this because they wanted to. They did this because they had to. And that's one thing that Robert Jordan brings up. There's a difference, and
Hmm.
especially with Perrin, especially in the first book when he's talking to um, the wolf guy, Elias
Hmm.
Machera, and Elias tells him, once you start to like to kill and it becomes your thing, you put the axe down and you don't look
Yep.
back. You only use the axe when you have to. It's not something you want to do, it's something you have to,
Yeah.
whether it's to defend someone else or to defend yourself, you know, and that's it. You don't go around murdering people or killing people or wanting to use it for your own pleasure. I mean,
Yeah.
and that was the difference. They didn't use it for their own pleasure. They actually abhorred what they did, but they didn't know, but they got cast out anyways. So
Hmm. Yep. Darn right. Yeah, this is deep stuff. I love it. Well, and
yeah,
then it go.
this was the highlight. This was the highlight. This is what kept me. This is what kept me reading. I was like, I want more. So sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, no. I was just gonna say I was just gonna go on to the next one when we go to Janai. Yeah,
Oh,
he heard
you didn't. Well, Aiden, number 5,
oh,
story number 5.
oh, when we
So
see Aiden again. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, so Aiden basically his youngest daughter gets taken. His eldest son, who is the father of Lewin and Magrin, gets killed right away in an attack by marauders. And the marauders take all their stuff. They take most of their women. They take all their food and stuff. And he finds his wife dead, and he mourns over her. And while all this trauma is going on, he's got the kids, got the grandkids, both his grandkids, with their faces against his chest, so that they don't see all the bad stuff that's going on. And they're whimpering and too. This is a very, very dark. Now, this wasn't in the show, but this
Hmm.
was very dark. When I listened to the audiobook, I listened to um, um, I listened to Michael Kramer's rendition of this, and it brought some tears to my eyes listening to this. This was another heavy
Hmm.
story within the story. So, but this is how the way of the leaf. This is how the way of the leaf diverges. The Aiel go one way, and the Tuathan go the other way.
Mm. Yeah,
The
and
Tinkers, the Tinkers. So this is where the Tinkers start. They want to look for
correct.
the song. They're seeking the song and all that.
Yeah, and Ogier show up, and they're looking for their setting. The land has changed so much.
Oh, that's the next one.
Oh, holy crap! You see, this is where I'm getting confused because they all have the same names. Did I?
Yeah, that's the
The other.
Jonai one. That's the Jonai one. The Jonai one's an interesting one.
Okay.
The Jonai's an interesting one, but yeah, but the like Aiden's like, oh, you're not true, I yield, blah blah blah. So like once again, they're like, oh, we're leaving. We're gonna look for the song. We're gonna look for a place of safety. This is not worth it. This is
Hmm.
not worth it. People are dying. People are our daughters are being taken. We're fed up, dude. We're fed up. He's like, no,
Okay.
our horses are gone. What are we gonna do? He's like, well, we'll pull it. We'll keep our faith with the Aes Sedai, no matter what. And they're like, we don't care. We're done. We're out. We're out,
Hmm.
basically.
Okay. Yeah. We keep the way of leaf as well as you, Ada. Yeah, because I'm flipping through here, and I think I went 2 pages too far because then it says there's another Adon, and then there's this stuff, or Adan rather, and um, let's see.
Aiden is actually he's in four of them. It starts off with him as the old man. Then he's not as old. He's like maybe 15 years younger with Lewin. Lewin's not an adult now. He's a kid. And
Yeah.
then we go back to Jonai, his father. He is 25 to 30 years old. And then the next one after that, he's 10. He's a kid. So he's in four of these stories.
Yeah, and the fact that they're going backwards instead of forwards, and then and Elnora, and he's like he had tried, and then take the people south, listen, take them south, they take the Alticias and keep the covenant guard. So we see why they're so important to them to keep the covenant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then okay, now the next Joai one. Oh, before we continue, this whole thing, like in between, there's that guy, the
Muradin.
Muradin. Thank you for
That's
pronouncing it for me.
Couladin. That's Couladin's brother, older brother. And he
Yeah, and he's like,
basically, I can't handle the truth.
yeah, he's like
Like
wide
that,
in an
basically.
effort to scream. He clotted his veil. Yeah, clotted his face, leaving bloody scratches.
Yeah, we do see that in the show. We do see that like in between stories. We actually see it. It's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. Like he claws his eyes out and you see like holes and blood where his eyes are supposed to be. It's messed up.
Yeah. And then this is where they have the seer that they go to. And let's see. What good is your foretelling? It's like, oh, sell, if that's how you say it. If you cannot tell us when, the world rests on this, the future of the wheel itself. Dark-eyed Indra faced her with a more usual calm. I am not the creator. I can only tell you what I foretell. This is not the first time that we've seen distinctions made between, hey, I'm not the creator. I can't do this. There's certain things that we can use things, but we are not God, if you will, that we are not omnipotent,
Where
yeah.
is this again? Where is this again? I'm looking
Oh,
for it.
this is the next part, if I'm correct. It was where Jonai hurried down the empty streets trying to look at the shattered buildings and the dead coral tree, all dead. He was 63 in the prime of life, but not old enough for gray hair. That was right
Oh
after.
no, that's the next one. We didn't
Oh,
talk
okay.
about
Well, I was
the
just.
we didn't talk about the one where he actually has a heart attack.
Oh,
He's
okay.
he's older. He's older. He has a heart attack. So, they meet some Ogier, and the Ogier are looking for their steading, and
Yeah.
there's they're finding out that the blight, where all the Trollocs and Murdral and all the bad guys hang out are it's basically getting bigger and bigger and all that. So we're not too far away from the War of the Shadow, which is during the Age of Legends with Lews Therin and the Forsaken, sealing the Forsaken, all that. So we're getting pretty close. And
Hmm.
so the breaking, I think right now during this part, the breaking of the world has been going on for a while. I don't know if the breaking of the world is over. I see that Dane's not here, or one of the White Cloaks, to basically say when this happens. So first you have the war, and then you have the break, and then of course everybody gets sealed, and then you have the male channelers going insane because of the Dark Ones hating Sidene, and then
Hmm.
all the male channelers, all the companions, and Lews Therin himself go insane, and they start breaking the world. They start destroying the geographic. They start destroying the geography and everything. Just everything changes. Like the geography changes. Things are not where they should be. People are
Hmm.
being displaced left and right. And I think this was obviously after that. This was during the breaking, and we learned something from one of the Aes Sedai in this chapter that I thought was very interesting. She claims that Ishamael was not sealed and that he still touches the world.
Hmm.
So,
Wait, is that
he,
back in this story? Because
yes,
so okay, so that's
It says it right here. Let me see if I can find it. It's just a
yeah, because
small little sentence, but it's a very interesting sentence that gives a lot of that makes a lot of sense when you've read the first three books. So here, too late for Elnora. The woman had healed the sick who still lived, taking some of the Angriel and gone on her way, laughing bitterly when he asked her where there was a place of safety. Her dress had been patched and worn at the hem. He was not sure she had been sane. She claimed one of the Forsaken was only partly trapped, or maybe not at all. Ishamael still touched the world, she said. She had to be as mad as the remaining male Aes Sedai.
hmm.
So what I think is going on here, and this explains why even after they sealed all the Forsaken in the prologue of Eye of the World, Elin Moradrin Morin Tedranai show up and basically tell Luce there we're going to fight for all eternity and all that. Well, that's Ishamael, and Ishamael is Balsamon. So the reason why the world starts to go to hell is because Balzamon's been giving instructions to Dark Friends for thousands of years, and
Hmm.
he appears and disappears every couple decades. I think he's sealed, and then he comes back for a little bit. Then he's sealed again, and then he comes back.
How's that possible?
I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay,
I haven't finished the series, so maybe that will be answered. I think
yeah,
so. But that's my understanding of it. So that's the reason why he keeps appearing to Rand in Eye of the World. And
huh.
he probably appeared to a whole bunch of people throughout the thousands of years that led to, you know, where the world is now. I'm curious if he's the reason why a lot of the prophecies got happened, especially in the Great Hunt with the heron on the palms of his hands was because of Balsamon on Rand.
Hmm.
Um, and I forget what else. And of course, Balsamon brings up at the end of Eye of the World, like, oh, there's more stuff to look forward to in the rest of the series, like the Black Aja and more stuff, So, um, but yeah, so I thought that was the most interesting part of this particular segment right here was revealing this really subtly too, like.
Okay, well, I missed it because I didn't put it down in my notes because I'm like, okay, and then I found it here.
Mhm.
So that's how subtle it was, but that makes a little bit more sense. Okay, yeah, and I see why I was getting confused because I was reading about this, and then I think that you maybe were looking at the previous one because they've all got the same freaking names, or they're all in different places rather,
Yeah, different
in their
places and
life.
at different times. So like
Yeah.
Jonai is 63 in this next one, but in this one,
Hmm.
I'm assuming he was like in his 80s. So
Well, no, in the next one now, after the one we just read with the Ogier and stuff, this is when he's 63.
okay, so I think in this one that we just talked about, I think he's like 83 because his son is an adult. In
Okay,
this next
gotcha.
one, his son was only 10. Aiden was only 10. In
Okay,
this
so
one,
he's
Aiden I
younger
think
now.
is 25, 30. I think
Yeah, it could be.
so.
Alrighty. Well, so he's 63 now, and my goodness gracious. Sorry, my
Yeah, we learned
com-
quite a bit about certain things in this one, especially with the Aes Sedai.
yes. Um let me see. I lost
There's a certain crystal sword that may not be a sword.
yes. Sorry, I lost my page here. A crystal sword, perhaps an object of the power, perhaps only an ornament. He had no way of telling. Held down the dragon banner of loose Theron Kinslayer, spread out like a tablecloth and spilling onto the floor.
Hmm.
Yeah, perhaps an object of the power. Okay.
And did you see? So there's a character in here named Someshta. Someshta. You know what that is?
Um, is is it Lanfear? When in doubt, is it Lanfear?
No, Someshta is what they call a nim,
Oh
and
well,
the nim
I
is
didn't
like
get
a
that.
remember the nim is kind of like an ent from Lord of the Rings,
Uh huh.
kind of, and they sing. Remember the Green Man at the end of Eye of the World that gets that was guarding the Eye of the World, but then gets killed by Balthamel, the Forsaken.
Yeah.
But he
Well,
kills
I mean, it's been
Balthamel.
a
They
while
kill each
since I've
other.
read into the books. There's so much stuff. Okay.
Remember the
So,
Green Man, the big giant tree
oh, I
guy?
remember the Green Man, but what I'm saying
Yeah,
is like the
that's him. This
connections
is him.
to
This Someshta
everything that
is him.
happened. Okay.
Someshta is him. They I
Oh.
think they're ageless. You know.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it says it's a nim, but okay. Or do you know that for sure, or is that
Yes,
just
it's him.
a guess?
Yeah,
Okay,
Someshta
so
is him. They just didn't. He wasn't. They just called him the Green Man. He probably I think in Eye of the World he forgets his name. He just remembers his duty, and then his duty concludes with his death. And Rand gets the Eye of the World, and the end. And then Eye of the World ends. You know, they go and he defeats Balsamon. He slays the two for he slays Agenor in a tug of war fight over the power, the Sidene that's in the Eye of the World.
yeah,
And yeah, and then he goes in. He starts manifesting powers he doesn't know he has, and then he basically destroys the Trolloc and Murdral, the Shadow Spawn army that's attacking Valdara, that's attacking the Shinarans.
huh?
And then he goes into a doorway, goes into a gateway, travels into Tel Riyadh and defeats Balsamon for the first time. That's Out of the World.
Okay, so that's who that's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah,
Shomeshta.
yeah,
Someshta.
yeah. Well, it does say okay that he has green hair, green grass of his hair. Okay, well,
And they send him to do just that, to guard the Eye of the World. We have something for you to do, and of course, you know, as a book reader, we know right away what they're talking about.
okay. So it says this just goes to show that when you're reading something and you're just kind of going through trying to figure out what's going on, because I didn't. Yeah, the singing wizard sing so much is gone. You are a child of the dragon, are you not? Um, they're talking about the Aiel and the shine, and then you will carry the things to safety, Jonai. So that's the other thing is that, and when they're talking about the things, they're talking about the Tangriel. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And then keep the covenant. If the shine lose anything else, see that they keep the way of the leaf. Again, that's one of the recurring themes.
Yeah, and we find out that thousands of the Deshine Aiel, so the Deshine Aiel are basically the Aiel that lived during the Age of Legends,
Hmm.
and they eventually spawned into the Gen Aiel and the Aiel, the ones that take up the spear and take up arms, to protect. But yeah, the Shine Aiel are the ancestors to them, and they follow the way of the leaf. Apparently, the Aiel are very important, especially if we go to the very end with the Charn segment. Apparently, the
Hmm.
Aiel were very important. They were higher class than most people. Maybe they were ruling class. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, there's thousands that have lived. They don't believe in violence. They're wary of violence, and they're basically being sent to protect these items, and of course these trees, these little trees. These I forget what they call them here. Um,
Um, Yeah, I'm looking here. Oh yeah, and this is where they talk about JoJo cars and jumpers and Hoa flights. So this is where.
Yeah, so the Age of Legends is basically a post-scarce world. Think of Star Wars a little bit.
Hmm.
Think of Star. I mean, these people use the power and everything, and they have technology. They probably travel to different worlds. They probably can teleport to different worlds or different universes or something. It's left to the imagination what the true capabilities of are here.
Yeah.
And so apparently the Aes Sedai were, they were scientists doing research into seeing if there was another means of getting the power or using the power. Does the power have to be split between male and female? Is there a particular power that, can that both can channel and use that hasn't been discovered yet?
Hmm. Yeah. And then we're going to see that more here. Okay, and I see it here. I don't know why I didn't make a note of this. Made a note that he was the last of the Nim, but now we must ask you more. Yeah, and this is going in between here where they're talking. And then Elnora, and he asked her, "Wife of my heart, have you dreamed of no time soon? All will be well, all will be well, and all manner things will be well. With you, I know it will be so." So maybe, and that's how that whole thing ends here.
Yeah, the IEL are leaving Paran Dyson. Paran Dyson. That's like this. That's like the big city of the Age of Legends. I forget if that's supposed to be like equivalent to Tarvalon. I think that's supposed to be like Tarvalon of the Age of Legends, where all the Aes Sedai
Hmm.
um, stood, male and female.
Yes.
Instead of an Amerlin seat, there was a Tamerlin seat. So but yeah, this is basically where the Aiel start their journey,
Yeah.
and it starts with Jonai.
Yeah. And then after that, and it keeps saying how Rand keeps moving forward, and then this is where we get to Kuman. He.
And Kuman is his grandfather, who they mentioned briefly in the last one. So apparently, he was trying to make a final stand in the city, and without really saying it, because this is what you call good writing. We kind of find out that he's dead, basically.
Yeah.
Um, I believe he was fighting off male channelers, or trying to, or maybe he was fighting off Shadow Spawn. I don't remember, because even though the Forsaken are gone, they've been sealed at this point. Um,
Yeah.
the Shadow Spawn are still around, and they're still killing people, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and this is where we get a description of the armored Joe cars. A hoverfly buzzed overhead in its patrol, a deadly black metal wasp containing two men. So I don't know. To me, it almost sounds like kind of like a helicopter kind of thing. Similar. This looks like
Yeah,
a
I
wasp
think
that
it's like
carries
it's
two
like
men.
it's like one of those hovering cars in Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And
And I think what they call them, the flies or something, or the um
well, he
but they're
describes it
like
a wasp. It's like a wasp, but I don't
wasps.
know the actual name though. I don't have that written down. It's just yeah.
But
And
yeah,
then
they're singing. They're basically singing in the fields. The Ogi are there. The Aiel, Daishin Aiel are there. They're in the fields. They're working the work in the fields, and they're singing. And they show
yeah.
that this is what they show this in the show.
Mm. Oh, okay.
Oh, the last one they showed in the show too. They just made some changes. They use
Of
different
course.
Terangriel or Sangriel that they give to the character. I forget if he was supposed to be Jonai. I don't remember if they named him that.
Mm. Okay. And when this is where we see Meshta again with clouds of butterflies around him. The Nim were older than anyone, so it said the Nim never died. not so long as plants grew. And they started singing, what is it, singing, that they would like sing to the plants, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, well, and is it in this one that everything hits the fan, or is it in the next one?
The next one. So this
Yeah,
one,
okay.
so this one, the war is already going on.
Yeah.
So Coleman, so this Coleman thing is happening. He gets word about Luce Theron and the companions basically sealing the Dark One and the Forsaken away. And Coleman here is like, oh, it's too bad I didn't become Aes Sedai, because like he was passed for being Aes Sedai. He's like, it would have been nice to be Aes Sedai. So
Yeah.
this was before the Dark One tainted Sidene. So this is
Mm.
before the prologue of Eye of the World, where Luce Theron, comes back into his castle. Everybody's dead. His
Yeah.
wife is dead, and
Yep.
Ishamael is basically telling him that we're gonna fight till the end of time, because he's crazy, and yeah.
Yeah.
And
It
then
was when
and then he
it was
gives
yin
him
and
he takes away his insanity to punish him, and that's when Luce Theron just like he can't live with himself. He commits suicide basically by misusing Sidene, because it's really easy to misuse Sidene. So it's really easy to commit suicide if you're not careful.
yeah, because
Because
it's so much more powerful.
Sidene is a lot more dangerous to use. You have to fight tooth and nail while keeping a balance. It's like being on a mountain that's collapsing under you, and you have to be really precise to hold the power in order for it to not kill you. Basically, at least that's my understanding. I'm sure I'm probably getting this wrong.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like I'm a blind woman kind of moving around in this world. Um,
That's why
but
everybody says the second read is the best. The first reread is the best read instead of the
I
first
bet
read.
you, yeah. Because I mean, the first time I read The Eye of the World, that was like 2 years ago. I mean, my gosh. Let's see, what do we have here? That's why I'm trying to read them all at once instead of waiting in between, because there's just no way. I've got to stay on track.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll
So
forget everything again.
yeah. So here it says, of course you still have work to do. You have that. The soldier looked around again. There are still Trollocs. Even if the Forsaken are gone, there are still Trollocs and Night Riders, which I'm assuming are Murdral. I think they're Murdral. I don't know.
I think so.
And then he's like, yeah, and so yeah, and then he tries to look for his grandfather Charn, and apparently Charn pissed off the people in the town because of the fact that he said that, and it's actually going to sound relevant to how people behave nowadays, especially when it comes to politics. Um, um, Charn said that Lanfear wasn't always evil because he worked for Lanfear,
Mm.
and they ended up killing him. I don't know if they killed him for that reason, but the people basically, I don't know. His grandson Kuman finds his grandfather basically hung at the end of
Hmm.
this story. So I forget if I'm assuming that the town people did that to him, because before he gets home and before he finds his grandfather dead, he gets punched in the face by someone that says your Lanfear can't protect you people anymore, blah blah blah. So
Yeah. Well, and this is where they describe that Luce Theron and his companions strike Shemagul, and they sealed them in. So we will root all of you who served the Forsaken.
yeah.
Yeah. So there
And
we are.
so we're at the final section now, or the
Yeah,
final story.
which
And we
what's
do
pretty cool.
so what the show did was they combined what happens in this Kuman chapter with the singing in the fields and all that, and they combined it with this mini Death Star sphere in the air that crashes down and everything.
Hmm. Oh well. Okay. This. Do you think they did it well? Like, did it look okay or?
It looked fine.
Mhm.
I thought it was weird that they did it. They decided to do it that way.
Yeah.
Um, and they had the Landfair extras talking about that and all that. Um, I think it was. I have to I'm actually going to rewatch it. So, but yeah, this final section is actually really short. So Charn is much younger. He's only like in his mid-20s, and
Mhm.
even the Aiel marriage thing is still a thing here. All this time, thousands of years before. So in the Aiel culture, the women propose to the men, not the other way around.
Yeah. Which is
So
probably a disaster.
he decides to accept a marriage, even though he's working for Mier and Sedai. And Mier and Sedai is he finds out about Mier and Sedai, and what I just said earlier, that they're looking for a means to they're looking for a power, a new power that will allow male channelers and female channelers to harness together.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, this is what you were referring
And
to
this is where
earlier. Like,
this is where they bore this is where the boar comes from, the dark one's boar.
mhm.
And this is where what do they call it, the big giant sphere in the sky, the Sherom, just comes crashing down.
The silver
And
domes of the Kolim Dome or whatever.
Kalimdon, yep, just comes crashing down. And yeah, yeah, and everybody's screaming, everything goes to shit. And yeah, that's what happens, unchecked. Don't, I guess, trust the science.
Yeah. Yeah, an
And
obsidian inferno, darkness spread across the sky, swallowing the sun and
yeah,
screaming everywhere.
yep. And Mier and Sedai, I'm sure you can guess who Mier and Sedai is.
Oh, damn it. I hate it whenever you say, "Can I guess who somebody is?" and then I never do and I feel stupid.
Well, remember in the
Uh,
last segment, a certain Charn, same Charn, old man Charn, said that Lanfear wasn't always evil.
oh, yeah. Oh, I see. So,
Mierin is Lanfear's true name. Lanfear. So
oh,
the names of the Forsaken were I don't remember if the Dark One chose it for them. Probably not. They chose it for themselves. So like Ishamael has a different name, Asmodean, like all those names were names that they adopted. So Lanfear was another
okay.
one.
So that's
So
who Mir
She
and
wasn't
is.
born Lanfear.
Okay. All right. Was I supposed to get that from reading this, for crying out loud? I mean, it's like I
They do. I think they talk about it later when Lanfear shows up at the very end.
Okay, maybe because, like I said, this is like 900 pages, for crying out loud, and I'm always
Yeah,
like, "Am I supposed to get this?"
and
Maybe I'll
yeah,
get it
so
on the second reading, or but I don't. I'm trying not to look up anything about these characters because I'm afraid I'm going to get a spoiler. Um,
yeah, that's true. I'm glad. Yeah, so that's why you have me around, even though I haven't finished the series myself. So,
yeah.
um,
Okay.
but
Well,
yeah,
no, I see the connection now that you pointed it out, but I'm just saying, come on, how the hell was I supposed to get this? Come on, Jordan.
yeah, I mean that's why people really like Robert Jordan. That's why people really like because that's why a lot of people like to reread these, because there's every time you reread them, you pick up on things that you didn't pick up on before, and he
Sure.
puts stuff in there that you don't quite understand at first. You're like, what's the context behind these words and all that?
Yeah.
Because I mean, even I struggle. Real like I'm like, what is he trying to say? Is this
Hmm.
something I should know? Is he hinting at something? What's going on here? So yeah. So I mean, and what's funny is it's been an hour. So I told you these two chapters take up a lot of discussion.
Yeah. Well, no, it is good, and I have actually a bigger understanding of it going through it again the way that we just did. And I've already seen it where Robert Jordan brings things together. Like at the end of the book, there's always like a little bit of a Dumbledore explains to Harry moment where you do
Yeah,
kind of suddenly it's like, oh, a light bulb goes off, but then there's like 10 more light switches that that you're gotta
yeah,
face a little bit later.
hmm
Okay, so and like I said, I was having even trouble going back through it again because I'm like, son of a bitch, what's this stuff? And um and like and there were different parts also where you would see that other guy screaming and being in between. And that's why he took longer to come out. But he came out a few days after Rand did.
Who?
The other dude, the guy that was screaming in the middle of it that didn't want to see
He
things.
didn't. That's the thing. He didn't come out.
He didn't
He
come
dead.
out.
He didn't come out. He dead. Killed himself.
Oh,
He clawed out his eyes.
okay. But when they got back there, they were like, he hasn't come out. I see.
Yeah, and that's why Cooladin. I mean, this is in the this is
Gosh.
in chapter 34. He who
Okay.
comes with dawn. Basically, um, this is why this is where the trouble with the Shido truly begins. And
Yeah,
then,
because
well,
they thought he was going to kill him, or that he killed him.
the Cooladin thinks that that Rand murdered his brother.
That's what it was. Okay,
Yeah.
I've got it. All right, I've got it. All right, so let's go. I guess if there's something that we're to be getting from this glass column thing, like if you were to summarize it in a few sentences, like what did we learn and how's it going to affect things going forward?
Well, I believe we learned the context of, well, we learned quite a bit about the IEL. We learned about where Rand comes from, like where a lot of
Hmm.
the prophecies come from, why things were set the way they were in the previous books,
Hmm.
where Kalendor comes in, where um, the Eye of the World comes in. Um, we get a lot more context and a lot more backstory and world building from these two chapters, and it just explains, like, it does a very good job at explaining how the IEL people have changed over the years, and it was really cool to see it from his ancestors' perspective. So
Hmm.
and the thing I asked, and I'm still curious about, is like, when all the other IEL chiefs go in, do they see the visions through the same people, or do they see it through different people?
Oh.
That was another question that I don't think has ever been answered. Um, I think the White Cloaks, I think some of the guys I've had on said, I think they believe it's the same time, but with
Hmm.
different people witnessing it or something. So, or maybe it's the same people. Maybe they're all related. Maybe they all share a common ancestry thousands of years down the line. So,
Okay.
because Janduin, Rand and his father Janduin are direct descendants of all these guys in the glass columns. Mandine, uh, Roderick, Jordan, Lewin, Aiden,
Hmm.
uh, Jonai, and um, uh, uh, Charn and Coman and Charn. Yeah. So yeah, so that their line never broke. That line never broke, and a lot of lines did break. We see a lot of people getting killed, a lot of family members dying over the course of this story. It's heartbreaking, and it showed, like, all the really important points that have really been turning points that have led to changes in the IEL over the years. How like, the fact that they followed the way of the leaf is what leads to the bleakness that happens after book 4. That's what
Oh.
causes this. That's what when he says what he says in Al Dal, basically. So so this stuff carries weight throughout this book, and I think throughout the rest of the series, especially with the IEL. And I'm curious what's going to be happening with the IEL. So going forward in the series from where I'm at. So the Shido are still a thing. Um,
Yeah. Well,
and
they're people of the dragon.
Yeah, and of course then the IO there with Rand. So I'm just curious where all that goes, because I accidentally heard a spoiler at the end of the series that I'm
Ah,
not going to
fun.
say. I heard a spoiler or about something about the IEO, and I'm curious what leads to that. So I'm going to keep reading. So I want to get
Yeah.
I want to get to the end. And I mean, I don't. One thing about this series, and this is something because Robert Jordan passed away. I think there are a lot of things that are going to be unanswered because of that. So that's kind of so if certain things are going to be unanswered, it's something I have to be forgiving about because Sanderson can only do so much with
Yeah.
the final books. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so you know why there's so many Supergirl chapters in this series so far? Robert Jordan was a big fan. One of his favorite authors of all time, from what I read a few days ago, is Jane Austen. Yes.
Oh.
He reads a lot of he likes a lot of the a lot of the 19th century authors. So like I think his favorite author of all time is Mark Twain.
Oh,
But
okay.
Jane Austen's another one, and
Well, yay. Well, no wonder he's so good.
yeah,
I
yeah, he
love
reads.
Jane
He
Austen.
he does. He even back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, he says he's like he doesn't read. He didn't read modern stuff. I mean, he read Lord of the Rings 12 times, so he was a big
Well,
fan of
yeah.
Tolkien. But Tolkien wasn't one of his favorite authors. His favorite authors are like Mark Twain and Jane Austen, and
Yeah. I love Charles Dickens.
I think Charles Dickens is one of them. I think
Hmm.
so.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, wow. Well, cool. Thank you. Well, I feel like I just went extra retardando today, but I'm trying to understand this stuff and understand I'm already halfway into the next book, so I've already forgotten some of this stuff because, like, of course, once you mention that, it's like, oh yeah, he kept saying you killed my brother, because yeah, that dumbass was that's who he was in the thing, and the
yeah.
fact that it kept going backwards. Yeah, so I hope.
Yeah, we still have the rest of the book to cover. So there's gotta be at least a part three to this, right?
Oh, yes, for the climax of it, though I think we'll easily get through it because, I mean, it's not something to pack through, and Robert Jordan doesn't go freaking backwards, but I guess I do understand why he did, because when that big explosion thing happens, it's really kind of epic, or whatever it was, what happened when, "Oh, look, we're gonna experiment with
Yeah.
the power," like, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, to me, it seemed like it was the equivalent of, "Hey, let's split the atom and see what happens."
Pretty much.
And
Yeah, that's pretty
yeah,
much what happened. So
yeah.
Lanfear, the destroyer of worlds.
Well, of course, it would have to be a woman, wouldn't it?
Lanfearheimer.
Oh dear, no, no, oh gosh, oh
Well,
boy.
it's better than Barbenheimer, at least.
Oh well, yeah, that stuff was so stupid. Well, I'm so cynical right now. I might be talking about it tomorrow a bit on my Monday musings, about how much some of that stuff is so manipulated. Even things like that we see on X and all that with influencers, how coordinated they really are, and that it's not all organic. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
I should have known that, but whenever you get a revelation like where they kind of get caught, and you're like, really, really, my goodness gracious, including things like Barbenheimer. But
Mm-hmm.
in any case, well, what are you up to? What's coming up with you?
Um, I mean, I know next weekend I'm gonna do book club for Crown of Swords, book 7.
Hmm.
So I'm almost halfway. I'm almost halfway through book 7. I want to try and get it done with before the month ends at least. So I'll be doing that. I'm trying to figure out the next Chilporial. I'm trying to figure out if I'm gonna. I haven't planned a Chilporial. I haven't planned any Chilporials yet for the next couple weeks. So I'm gonna be. I want to do one. I'm probably gonna invite someone from the Wheel of Time community to talk about episodes 4 and 5,
Mm.
maybe even a few other people. Um, and yeah, yeah. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And um, yeah, hopefully I'll be motivated to work on a video again, a video retrospective again. So One thing I haven't done yet is my Great Hunt book review. I did an Eye of the World book review. I don't know if you've seen it, but I need to do a Great Hunt one. Great Hunt's still my favorite book in the series. It probably will always be my favorite book in the series at this point.
Well, yeah, it was pretty damn good, and it's really hard to beat that ending. That ending was absolutely amazing. So,
You might find something. You might come across an ending of a particular book that might give it a run for its money.
is that the book 6 that I've heard that has a really good ending and that everyone
Hmm.
forgives a lot of other stuff because the ending of that is so good? Well, then I'm
Hmm.
definitely looking forward to that. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Last 7 chapters.
Uh, Chef's kiss. Well, we're all in
Yeah,
favor of that here at Miss Martin Muses. Yeah, the problem with videos, and that's why I only get one out maybe once a week, is it takes a lot of time to put together some of those things because
yeah,
um all the research, at least for me, that goes into them and the
yes,
like, it's not easy. It takes a lot of time, and maybe one of these days when I win the lottery, I'll have a whole team to help me out with that and to edit them and put them together and put some of the bells and whistles. But yeah, for each video you make, what is it? It takes me several hours, and I edit them over several days. And yeah,
yeah. My
so
biggest video took me almost a
mm,
month and a half to do.
wow.
Yeah,
Yep. That's where it is. But yes, but I will be here at Miss Martin Muses for Monday Musings, and I'll probably have to do a premiere because I will be flying on Tuesday. Also, Catholic Spinning. Well, Catholic Spinning should it return next week. I'm going to video record a whole bunch of them. I still have my Catholic Spinning online trolling that's coming, but that one is a little trickier than the other ones because putting it together can sometimes just be a little bit trickier. It's not as cut and dry where you can just look up like murder. Okay, but this, because
yeah.
of course online trolling is a new phenomenon, and what do we know about what we're supposed to believe about charity and loving one's neighbor and deliberately trolling? Is something that any Christian should be doing? So hopefully that'll be some food for thought for people.
Yeah, and I would in the future we need to continue Catholic Chilporial.
Oh yeah.
There's we barely scratched the surface. We covered like some of the connections between Tolkien and Catholicism and
Yes.
everything, but there's still a lot more that I'm interested in, especially and this is something I have to do research on myself before we can even have this conversation, especially the whole apostolic succession is
Oh
something
boy.
that is something I don't know nearly that much about. I don't think
Oh
most
well.
people don't know that much about unless you're big, history and church history buff.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
guess
something the
who
saint
is one?
and the saints. So apostolic succession and the
Uh,
saints is something I don't think we know enough about.
oh, well, as I said, it just so happens that I'm a total geek when it comes to all of that kind of stuff, if that's even the right word for it. But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun to go over. But I was just also thinking in the back of my head, hey, wow, nothing like small topics, it's like, woo, this is deep. This is
Nothing.
deep stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, deep.
And
That's yeah. Chilporials generally go pretty deep, or they're fun usually. They're always fun. I think.
yeah.
I think they're fun.
Oh,
I try to make it fun for the guests at least.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, those are loads of fun. So yeah, everyone subscribe to Nordportfolio. Also, I should have said that Magitech Mags and I are planning to do another fashion show thing where we talk about fashion, which I know is the thrill of nobody's life but maybe us, but we had fun. We had fun. We've got a lot more pretty dresses to talk about and good fashion, good feminine fashion. So if that's
Yeah, and
something you like.
Mags made her comeback this year
Hmm.
on Chilporial.
Oh, she sure did. Yes.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
yeah. Actually, me and Prophet met her and we hung out for a day. So yeah,
Oh,
a lot of
very
fun,
nice.
loads of fun.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, Prophet, he's had a lot to say about the season on Wheel of Time.
Yeah,
All right, so
he's been streaming every day. He's been been commenting on articles that people have been writing saying, "Oh, this season's better than the other two." And it's just, I mean, there was one episode that could support that claim, but the first three episodes were just bad, just
Yeah.
terrible, terrible,
Well,
terrible direction to go in.
and one decent episode can't cancel 2 seasons and 3 episodes
And
of
the whole
crap.
episode, not the whole episode was decent. It was still, girl boss beating up, like the character Avienda. So Avienda challenges, well, knocks Rand on his ass because,
Oh, crap.
because, because,
Girl power.
girl power, whatever. But she manages to somehow get a one up over Lan of all people.
Mhm. Huh.
So
Well, that's
yeah.
ridiculous. Why Lan? I mean, Lan's supposed to be well, never
Well,
mind.
this show's Lan is not the Lan, not the book Lan, not the stoic, badass Lan in this, embrace death Lan,
Oh boy. Well, that's boring. You see, no wonder no one wants to watch it. Dave says that, or Dave for D man, thank you for being here. It says Rand also calls Lanford by her true name, Mirren, without really realizing at the beginning of the book when she first reveals herself to him in Shadow Rising. Huh? Well, maybe.
Yeah, I think in chapter 9 when she's like, hey, I'm not just Celine. I'm also Lanfear. Ha ha ha. Join me, and we'll destroy the Dark One and forever dominate the world's destiny. Something like that. Very Darth
Yeah,
Vader esque. And then of
yeah.
course,
She always,
then the stone stand happens, and then
yeah. What is she? She's always what is it? You will be mine. You will be mine. That's where she turns into like an
okay,
80s
all
soap
right,
opera
all
actress.
right. You're gonna like. Okay, you're on book 5. Okay, keep reading. Keep reading. You know what you just said? Keep reading. Book 5.
Okay, that's funny. All right.
Yeah. You keep reading. You'll see where that goes.
Oh, so we're gonna see sooner than later because part of me was thinking this was gonna be something that she always says. Yeah. And
Well,
she's
you'll see what she does when she learns of a certain thing that occurs that Rand does. Not gonna say what, but let's just say something happens,
oh, well, okay.
and another character gets involved, and things. It's a game changing moment, I'll say, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Huh.
Yes.
Well,
And this it was actually one of the it was actually when I first read it. Now I'm very critical of Fires of Heaven. I was actually really disappointed by the ending initially, um, but I think I re-listened to the ending. I changed my mind, but the stuff with Lanfear was nuts, was wild, and
oh, cool.
you're gonna like it. You're gonna like it.
Well, sweet. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I want to go ahead and thank everyone that's been here. We had Dad 3D Man, Ancient One. Thank you very much for being here. Al Dan showed up. Rachel Percy Art, Grifter 23X. Of course, Norporial is here, and Adega Outlaw and Staple Bow. So thank you for being here, showing off the book with the proper cover. Oh my gosh, it's Max. You came in just as we're about ready to sign off. Yes, the shadow writing. Yeah, if you can get the proper covers and not with the stupid now a TV
Now a
show.
TV show on Amazon Prime.
Right. Yeah, none of that. Good. If I've been getting them from the thrift stores, half price bookstores, so I definitely recommend that.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
Salty recommended a book. Yeah, Salty recommended a book, a website that sells these. That's I managed to get all 14 books with these original covers.
Ah, oh, well, yeah, yes. And it's fun to do that, to collect them like that, because covers suck nowadays. Max says normally don't watch these, but this is one of the best parts in the book's good stream. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I hope
book club for book 7 next week.
yeah.
Talk about good
So,
stuff. You don't have to hear Steve yell all the time about stuff happening in the show. I mean,
yeah. There we go. And you don't have me going, what? Huh? What?
exactly.
Where are we? I don't know. All of that. It will all be clear. It will all be clear. All right. So everyone stay tuned for that for next Sunday. And eventually we'll do part 3. So have a great day, everyone. Have a great evening, mornings, whatever it is for you right now. And be certain to read the books and don't watch garbage TV show.